as part of the initiation.
Hey, Colin.
The public is
Sorry about that.
nope,
Oh, there's people out there. Huh?
there is public here.
Colin Ennis, you look very comfortable there. Are you in the library lounge or what? Hey? Hey?
It's more comfortable here than my desk chair.
You may not be able to speak.
That's fine. I was going to say I'm
Hi, Ringo. Oh, it's nice to meet you, Sarah.
It's easy.
Okay.
It's a pleasure.
Are you going to say something?
I actually have a friend sitting on the car.
Okay.
We were going other times. I just wanted to
Run.
It's a very time sensitive thing. Like, you see something new and
If it's the roads are icy.
Oh,
Yeah, I heard that, great.
We will discuss.
not very good at all.
It won't happen tonight, but.
I came over from trail this afternoon. And
Okay, good. Okay, very good.
I look forward to
they were pretty bad between like South Silkan and Nelson.
So if you cannot tolerate me sitting here quietly, thank you.
You okay? Who was there? Security.
Well, it's. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. So, okay, folks, I'd like to call the meeting to order, and thanks very much for everybody for being here tonight. And I'd like to start with the Aboriginal Acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Ktunaxa, Silix, and Sinix peoples, home to Métis and many diverse Aboriginal persons. We honour the connection to the land and rivers and respect the importance of the environment to our strength as a community. And with that, I'd like to know if there are any late items to be introduced.
Is that the snow report?
Pardon?
The snow
Yeah, I
report?
know that. Yeah, I just want to see who's got them. Councillor Page?
Yeah, I'd like to add a late item to discuss the communication coming out from our federal MP about COVID.
Thank you. And that'll go in the, where do you want to put that, Sarah?
At the end.
Yeah, you should go at the end. We'll do a late items at first, at the front end to do the snow, and then we'll also do it at the end
Yeah.
for council page.
Okay. We need a council resolution for that,
Yes,
Sarah?
yes.
So you're moving that, Councillor Page? And we need a seconder. Councillor Woodward? Questions or comments? Is everybody in favour? Opposed? I don't see Janice. So Janice, okay, Janice put her hand up opposed, Cal put his hand up opposed, Nicole and myself, so it fails. Okay, thank you. So we have one other, we're going to move to the front of the agenda, one other late item, and I'm sure to nobody's surprise, it's not late at all. It's very timely, and that is an update on snow removal and emergency management. And we'll move that to the front end of the agenda, Sarah, so these folks can give us their report and move on to continuing with their duties. And with that, I'd like to move a motion to, someone move a motion to adopt the agenda as amended with the addition of the late item. Councillor Renwick? Seconder? Seconder for the agenda, please. Councillor Woodward, all in favour? Carried, thanks very much. Okay, adoption of the minutes of the previous meetings? None. Recommendations from the Committee of the Whole? None. Meetings from, requests. And the first item on the agenda is Nelson at his best.
We're going to do the late item first.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. We're going to have, who's leading, and by the way, is it Colin Innes? We'll start off this portion?
No, Len's going to
Len,
start.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, Len, you're up.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I think to start with, I'd just like to recap what the advantages of an emergency operations center can bring and what so the focus can be. And the first is gaining situational awareness of an incident, any kind of incident. In this case, we're talking about sort of some winter storm events, and that we can gain a common operating picture. So we're sort of all operating with the same knowledge and the same picture. It also helps us to facilitate and identify the issues or problems we might be facing, and certainly any future or anticipated issues that impacts that might come up. We can also, as a group, establish some agreed to strategic objectives, as well as we can coordinate resources, or if additional resources are needed, we can help figure that out as a group. And very importantly, we can work on what are the strategic key messages that we as a entity, as a city, want to put out on the matter that we're dealing with. And another point is that certainly the EOC has a pretty direct line to Emergency Management BC, so if needed, we can tap into them very quickly and easily. And so last Wednesday, all the little spider sensors are going off, and with the very cold temperatures we'd had at the end of December, causing some freezing and some different elements, whether it's road, whether it's pipes inside buildings, or whatever, followed by the heavy snowfalls over 2 weeks, and the challenges with parking and snow removal. And then the forecast for this week, talking about some warmer weather, and we're getting some really mixed messages on how warm it may or may not get, and whether or not there'd be any rain or not. So last week we pulled together our first meeting last Wednesday, and looked at a few things, got a bunch of the key players together, and out of that, a task force was developed, the parking and snow removal task force, which was facilitated by John Topolovic and has been since then. And with that, I'd like to introduce John. He's our new emergency management coordinator. He comes to us after a number of years with BC Wildfire, and more recently, and fortunately, he's been a regional director for our area here in Nelson. So he's come to join our team, and at this point, I'm going to turn it over to John.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that introduction, Len. So I'm currently leading the Parking and Snow Management Task Force, which is comprised of Public Works, Communications, Bylaw, Nelson Police Department, Nelson Fire Department, and we have great support from the Chief Financial Officer as well as the City Manager. As Len had mentioned, so far we've had 3 meetings, 2 of which I've been the lead of, and we determined that we'll continue with Monday, Wednesday, and Friday meetings until no longer required. So that just gives us a really good opportunity to discuss and continue the conversations around parking challenges, snow management, as well as the snow removal efforts that are ongoing, while also working to align our public messaging with the current conditions and the current snow removal strategy so that we can optimize those efforts. And again, to build on what Len was saying, it just really helps us all maintain our situational awareness as the weather is sort of fluctuating as we kind of get closer and closer to the warmer temperatures. So it just allows us to be on the same page. As I'm sure you're aware, there is a lot of really good work ongoing, and before I pass it over to the Public Works folks, I wanted to highlight one piece that is a really big joint effort from the Public Works and Fire Department, both career and auxiliary members who've been working really hard over the last couple of days to dig out as many fire hydrants as possible, and really happy to report that at this point it's looking like the majority of those have been exposed. To further that, the fire department did put out a request to the public for residents to assist with digging out hydrants near their homes if they're aware of any, and it seemed like there was a really good uptake on that. So the fire department, as well as us in emergency management, really just want to extend our gratitude and thanks to those residents who took it upon themselves to alleviate some of that workload. That's all that I really have, and I think at this point I'll turn it over to Colin with Public Works to speak on all the good work you folks are doing down there.
Well, thank you, John. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I just before I start, I'd really like to extend a big thank you out to all the residents that helped out by shoveling off their vehicles and making sure that we could see their cars That was a huge, important thing for us and really helped our crews a lot. We had crews that were working from extremely early in the morning all the way through late into the evening. And to be able to actually see those vehicles and to be able, sure made it a lot easier as far as us maneuvering around it with all the heavy equipment. So I'd really like to thank the residents that did that, and shoveled off, and especially the ones that were able to move their vehicles to help us. Much appreciated. I also would really like to thank residents who helped out bringing their garbage down to 70 Lakeside Drive, as well as the folks that I spoke to down there that were helping out neighbors of theirs where they brought down the garbage for their neighbors. And I really would like to thank everybody for that. That really helps out things immensely. It was a very I guess it's been a busy week here. And a very busy weekend. We have had all of our public works equipment rolling. So we've got 3 plow trucks, 3 loaders. We've got trucks to haul snow with. We've got skid steers, and we've got sidewalk plows. And so we've had all that equipment going. We also have supplemented our equipment with some equipment that we got from contractors, and I'd really like to thank the contractors that responded quite quickly to help us. This was a very big event, and they have their own commitments and other things that they need to do, but they all came very quickly to help, and that's very much appreciated. They were able to help supplement things with another 3 loaders. We had 5 additional trucks for hauling snow. We had a big D5 cat for pushing snow up in snow dumps, which, of course, as you can imagine, have taken on a lot of snow. And we also had 2 skid steers that they used to help dig out around vehicles, do some cleanup behind loaders, as well as to get fire hydrants and that exposed. So we've had good success. We've been out on our primary and emergency routes. We've done a lot of snow removal to help widen those areas. Things, of course, with the amount of snow that we got very quickly, the plows are able to get it off to the side, which is fantastic. But the problem is that with all that snow, we get quite a constraint of the road surface, and so we needed to lift a lot of snow out of those areas in order to widen the roads again. And so we've been very actively engaged in doing that activity. We've also, because of the weather forecast saying that we were going to be having warmer weather here, as well as potentially a rain event that'll happen through the evening, that we were opening up catch basins. We had a number of staff out doing manual shoveling and exposing basins, and so if we get that rain and that melt, that there's a place where water is able to go as opposed to pooling up onto the road. So we have had good success through the weekend and into this week. Today we were moving snow off of Douglas Road to get a good road from the Fairview up to the hospital to make sure that we've got good access there. We were also clearing out Wasson in Rosemont because, of course, it had basically come down to being a one-lane road, and so we've gotten that opened up. Tomorrow, with having the temperature here, and as well as having snow and potentially rain through the night here, tomorrow we're going to have to do some plowing very quite likely. As well as we're going to be out sanding because this is the kind of, I guess, a perfect sort of storm, so to speak, for freezing rain events. And so it could be slippery tomorrow, and so we're going to be out doing a lot of sanding. Additionally, tomorrow we're going to pivot a little bit in what we're doing. We've tidied up all of our primary routes. They're not perfect everywhere. We recognize that. But with next week being garbage and recycling week, we need to get start cleaning out lane mouths and getting alleyways ready so we'll be able to get our truck into it and to do garbage and recycling pickup. So we'll be doing that again tomorrow, as well as trying to pick up some snow along the trouble areas with some of our contractors. After the event, when we see what the rain and everything has brought us here, We're going to do a little bit of a reassessment to see what's the most effective thing for us to be doing as a group, and what's the most effective thing to do with our contracted forces. So we'll be doing a little bit of a reassessment after we get going here tomorrow, cleaning the lane mouths out. But I imagine that we'll be doing the lane cleanup for several days, as well as trying to get into other trouble areas. So I guess, hopefully in a nutshell, gives everybody an update as to where we've been at. And I'd really like to thank all the staff has worked very hard. I'd like to thank all of the communications that's gone on. And I'd like to say that working with John and everybody through the EOC has been great. Bylaw has been absolutely fantastic in getting vehicles moved for us as well. So I just really like to say it's been a real team effort, and I really appreciate all the help that we've got from our team members.
Thank you very much, Colin. Thank you. Colin McClure, do you have 2 cents worth here?
2 cents. That's appropriate for the CFO.
Yeah.
But we're going to need a lot more than 2 cents to deal with this. And as far as council's aware, we, as a director, Innes spoke to, we've had our employees work some very, very long shifts, and I very grateful to them, but that's also going to come with a cost to the city. But that's part of the program of people having to work as long as they have been able to commit to us to do that. So basically people working 12-hour shifts. So we've had around the clock coverage basically for the last number of days here, not quite a week, I guess. But the other component is that we don't have sort of the invoices in yet from our contractors. So if council's wondering, hey, where is that at? And that's going to be one of those pieces that will come a little later, but we'll, per truck, what kind of load cost is that going to cost us? And so it was going to take some time to get an understanding of this, but it'll be in a couple of weeks here. I'll have a better sense of as things start to tally up what's happening. One thing that not to be too preemptive, but as Director Innes spoke about, we are, especially with this warmer weather, and doing the best that we can to clean out laneways, and considering how much snow is there, we may not get to all of them. So we may also be trying to work with our residents to find a way to make sure that we can get their garbage and recycling, but it may take them having to walk it a bit from not their usual right out the back garage of your laneway may not be an option this week as we try to plow through some of that. We're still working on it, and that's our goal, but we may find that that's not possible. So I'm just trying to, again, be a bit preemptive on, you might have to put it out front or maybe walk at the end of your laneway, especially because if we can't get the vehicle down. Councillor Lockenbrook, I see your hand up there.
Yeah, through the chair. Colin, I've had a number of people reach out to me asking about bag tags and if they're walking their garbage. What are we doing about that? Or is that something that council needs to weigh in on, or do you feel like staff's got a good policy direction from us?
Well, from what we've seen, and again, we don't have the full capacity to monitor every bag that's being thrown right now into our drop-off bin, but we have directed our community that we still have to pay for the tipping fees, the trucking, the container. That's all still a big cost to the city. So I understand people are saying, well, I pay X, and when you think about what garbage against the components that's for pickup, we're talking about between $3 and $4 is what it costs a household to have our guys come by and pick up all your garbage and recycling. Now, it depends on how many bags you have out. I realize you got a bag tag and some of the math on that, but I'm just saying to you, on the average sort of piece, you're in that $3, $4 range, which is not a lot of money. So you're not paying this huge amount of money to do that. So we try to do it very cost effectively, and the bag tag obviously is a component of that. So we have seen, for the most part, people have had a tag on their garbage, and they brought it down to their drop-off. Even though they brought it themselves to deliver it, they are putting a tag on it. Sure, there are some that are going to say, I'm not paying that $1.75, and there's really not a lot we can do on the policing of that, but just recognize that does put pressure on our expenses are going to go up, and with less revenue if you don't put your bag tag on it, because Alpine's coming to pick that up, RDCK is going to send us a bill for all the garbage tipping fee that's in there, and so that's going to be a cost. So we get less revenue and we got more expenses. That just means next year I'm coming to you saying, hey, we need to increase bag tags, or we got to increase fees for garbage, so or pickup. So that's just sort of the way that it goes. You think you win one way, but really you're kind of hurting us and yourself and your community. So in the same way, if you end up having to walk it 50 feet to the end of your laneway or out front of your house instead of at the back of your laneway, and thinking, well, we'll just tag it. I think that you're at a risk, to us going by and saying, well, you don't have a tag and you brought it to the end of the laneway. We're not picking it up. So I wouldn't say that we'd want to do that. In fact, I think the guys would probably just right now, just to make sure that we got everything cleaned up, we would deal with it. But the offside of it is that you're just creating a revenue issue for us when we've got the cost, and so that doesn't help anybody. And I guess I do find it fascinating sometimes when people are saying, I pay for my garbage pickup, and I'm like, yeah, I do understand that, but at $3 to $5 every 2 weeks to have your garbage and all your recycling picked up, that's a pretty reasonable expense for someone to incur. So, I understand that we, because of the snow and because of the gap, there's been a longer period of time than people have usually had for getting their pickup, and we understand that. But this is a really unique situation that we're dealing with. And what I also want to tell council is that I've got a number of phone calls about people that were upset about the garbage not getting picked up, but they were very pleased that we did allow for a drop off. And so there's a lot of positive comments that have come down from it. And again, I would want to, same thing as Director Innes talked about, people that have said, hey, I got my ladies next door garbage. I brought it down. I was coming down here at a pickup truck. So a lot of community support going on here. So, we really want to support and salute those people in the community that have really stepped up to be part of the community, and how could I help out the city and help out my neighbors, and give less attention to those people that are complaining and kind of about what's not working. And so I again too really think that it's a more positive tone that I'm hearing from the community than the negative, although the negative sometimes can be louder.
Thanks. Thank you, Colin. So I see a couple of hands up here. Rick, Councillor Lochtenberg and Councillor Page.
I was just going to do a follow-up, but I defer to Councillor Page. I can pick it up after he has a chance.
Thank you, everybody. Amazing work. I know we're dealing with a perfect storm of different challenges over the last couple weeks, and I have a question. Just as we look at our snow and ice control plan, and the allocations of staffing, one of those things I think we hear a lot of from the community is how we position ourselves in that plan going forward to have the labor force on hand to maybe get out a little bit quicker as these things are happening. Because in this particular scenario, we had multiple holidays falling on weekends, multiple statutory holiday commitments following the weekends. But we also have a very regimented labor table of what kind of allocation of hours we're going to be putting forward. And my question is that table appropriate for the swings in the weather that we have been seeing, especially this year? I would, as background, I think we all remember we've had record heat, we've had near record cold, followed by super warm winter weather, followed by cold and snow again. And I look at that table and I'm looking to call one of the call-ins. Are we budgeting enough of that labor force? Do the winter shifts account for what might happen if we have this stuff fall on holidays in the future? Can we get those commitments in place as we go into these seasons in the future? Do we need to revisit some of that, or do we really feel this is a perfect storm and we won't see this again for a long time?
And I'll just maybe jump in on the one side and then let Director Innes kind of speak to his expertise there. But I do have to push back on a few things. One is that, yes, we look at this as kind of our normal, what we need for staffing on regular years. Last year, we did not have a lot of snow, and so that's one thing that council has to remember. And so, we don't plan for that, but we plan for what's kind of our average kind of expectation. This particular storm, and I've had a few people say, like, you should have had everybody on hand, and it's like, the Environment Canada and where we're working, we had they predicted 10 to 15 centimeters, so we were pretty lined up for taking care of a regular 10 to 15 kind of day with the staff we had on Monday. And you're right, it is a stat holiday. We got 70 to 80 centimeters. There's really little that I can do to prepare for that. And again, my hat is tipped off to our public works staff that had a stat day off, either phoned in or were called in by our supervisors, and those individuals worked 12 and 14 hours on that Monday. And I know a lot of people said I couldn't get down my street or I couldn't get this, but if those people had not, those staff had not stepped up to the plate, I cannot imagine what Monday would have looked like, or what that would have rolled into Tuesday or Wednesday or onwards. So I'm, the community should be, grateful for these people coming in and doing what they've had. To me, this is a complete anomaly. Even when we look back, as part of the thing was, let's look over some records. Where are we with some of this information? How common does this happen? That we had some individual email saying that we should have known back in December, because they said that it was going to be a big snow year, that we should have, hired all kinds of more people, bought more equipment. And I'm like, well, I appreciate that, but that's not really kind of how we operate. I certainly feel comfortable from my time being here, 11 winters of being kind of trying to help out the community with what allocations we have for resources, that this for me is off the charts. A resident for 20 kind of years, so haven't seen anything really like this in this short a period of time. So I am feeling very confident that we have a good complement, a good handle on what a regular, even to a heavy snow year is, as that's where we leave it lean as a conservative. So I'm very comfortable with where we're at. But again, I'll defer also to the expertise of Director Innes.
Sure, and thank you, Colin. Further to what Colin has already put forward, I think that when you take a look at the shifting that's present in the snow and ice control policy and how that's laid out, I think we have a very effective early morning till 11 o'clock at night. And I think that in an average year that allocation.
Going to have to get Samo to increase their Wi-Fi capacity.
And further to what Colin said, we had everybody, our staff is absolutely fantastic in knowing when there's a...
Yeah, we're losing your signal a little bit, Colin.
Colin, it might help if you turn your video off.
Is that better?
Okay, now.
Try again.
Yeah.
Definitely looks better.
Is that... Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I look a lot better this way. I was just further to what Colin was saying. I think that the way we're allocated really, is an effective way and would handle the majority of snow and ice events that we have, and so I think it's effective. I think that we've had a very large event that's occurred here. But at the same time, we have been able to scramble and to get extra staff to come out and to work additional hours, as well as we've been able to leverage the contractors to come and help. And so we've had an incredible amount of resource that's gone around to clean up this event, and we've really needed it, so it's appropriate to do so. But I would think that to have this kind of sitting in reserve, so to speak, I don't think that it would be an effective use of resource because, for our handling of all of our other snow events, typically what we've put forward, I believe to be an effective use of resource. So I think how we've structured things is effective.
Yeah. Thank you, Colin. Councillor Woodward?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Colin. And I just really want to... It's just a stunning snowstorm. But I did want to say that I think 2021 should be teaching us a lesson about extremes, because every season, starting from January all the way to this January, we've had pretty extreme weather. I'm not saying every year is going to be like this. 2019, 2020 were actually pretty mild, but 2017, 2018 were horrendous wildfire years. So I think maybe my thought process is that as you're going through your planning and sort of trying to round that curve off to the average of event, I would say spending maybe a little bit of time to plan for, okay, what is a huge snowstorm? Can we handle it? What is a heat dome going to be? Can we handle it? What is a massive windstorm in the spring? Can we handle it? And just kind of having those as pieces there, and maybe it's already happening, I'm not exactly sure, but that we're ready to jump to that level, because 2021 was really a year of extremes. And I think we actually navigated it really, honestly, quite well through it all. But it is kind of shocking how extreme the weather was. So maybe you can comment on that in terms of future planning.
Maybe
Well,
I'll,
and I think that we,
Colin, maybe I'll start.
I think, yep.
Let me try that one. Yeah, I think the work we're doing through emergency management is really that work that we're doing to identify those risks and plan for those risks. It's about being resilient. It's about, do you have a flexible workforce that can respond to different events, whether it's a wildfire, whether it's a snow event, a storm event. I think each of these events we have helps your preparedness. What went well, what didn't, what was that right balance? And, I'd go, being a community member, what was your preparedness? Were you able to dig your car out of the snowbank? All those things impacted us. And I think those learnings, because we need, we've struggled with this, even odd thing, we've struggled with people parking on the streets. I think the mayor raised today, the more density we add in, and we've been, experimenting with, requiring less parking. And that means more pressure on our streets. So all those things, we do take into account. We will review this incident. What went well, what didn't, what do we, as a community, need to prepare for? It's not just us as the city; it's the community. What did we do with vehicles when we have a big snow event like this? This was the first time we actually got together and said, yeah, what do those people do with those cars that are blocking us from being able to prepare? And that's when we started talking to, who has parking lots that we could move some of these vehicles to, et cetera. So I think it's not, it's learning, it's preparing for the future, it's doing all those things. So I think this council should, really give themselves credit for, that first planning session we had, and this council said we need to do more on that emergency management side, and that has put us in a much better place. Certainly we wouldn't have in the past opened the EOC to deal with a snow event or a storm event that's affected Nelson Hydro. Now that's part of the way we operate, and it's for the better. So I don't know, Len or Colin, you guys want to add to that? But I like where we're going to.
Yeah, and I see too, as an example, we had the windstorms, and so we put a lot of effort into veg management. And now again, we haven't had the real heavy snow yet, that may be coming here. But one of the things that has happened out of an absolutely major snowstorm here is that we have not had some of the power outages that we would have in the past, right? So yes, we try to adapt where we can and take this into consideration. And Jesse, it's not lost on me, like you said, or Councillor Woodward, I should say, that it's extreme. But of course, you're kind of looking at that and saying, okay, here's our extreme, here's our kind of low. Where are we in the middle, sort of thing? But you're right, as far as us taking a real good look at this. Maybe we need to, when we know, as Councillor Page was noticing, saying to us, like, hey, you've got something happening over some stat holidays. Maybe we need to be proactive and maybe be in contact with, some contractors and say, hey, if something happens here, maybe we get something set up for those days where if something big is going to happen, that we would have an agreement on, like, hey, you'll be able to send somebody out. So that might be a few things that we could do. But again, when I've looked at all that's happened here, the last one I guess was the Snowmageddon. I think it's 2017 that we had, where again it happened over basically I think 2.5, 3 days that we got, because kept snowing, and a lot heavier snow, mind you. But since then, I think that our staff have been able to handle what's usually come at us.
Thanks. Thank you, Colin. A couple of things is maybe, Rick, sorry, I beg your pardon. Councillor Lochtenberg, you have your hand up. Sorry.
Thank you, through the chair. I just want to, not to beat this horse to death, but I do want to send a message out to the public that climate change is going to be inconvenient, and it's going to require, we can't expect our local government to do everything. Our staff has done a remarkable job. And the flex and the resilience in the system that we create together as a community is so much dependent on our neighborhoods and good neighbor behavior, and the residents to step in and either do their part or to chill out for a bit and find a way to adapt to the circumstances while our staff rally to respond. The alternative is we plan for the worst case scenarios that will come. But that means like spending a lot of money to build the capacity to deal with relatively rare events. And I don't think the city wants to take that approach. Rather than let's find a balanced approach, let's be willing to be inconvenient and sort of balance or keep our budget in check so that we're not overspending for maybe once a year or once every 2 or 3 year events. I have received quite a bit of emails and such from people, and I just want that message to be clear to people that we're really looking to you to do your part as much as you can.
Good points, really good points. And I think for the most part, I think that's where we have seen, we have noticed in the community. We have a few instances, of course, where that hasn't been the case. But I would remind all of us that in the last number of years, we've had extensive presentations from all of our senior management team around the mitigation work that we're doing. And I just look to our fire chief as an example. You know, we had several personal trips that we were invited on to see the work that's being done around wildfire mitigation. And most of us took advantage of those. Colin Innes and Colin McClure have furnished us with extensive amount of information around snow removal and the availability of contractors when we do run into these situations, where we can call on a number of people in our community to back us up. That allows us to have what we believe is the right amount of equipment and people in place to manage a normal season and maybe a little beyond that, but we're not carrying millions of dollars worth of equipment that's sitting rusting in the yard for 8 or 10 years waiting for the snow to fall. We also had, Colin Innes give us a report recently on, in fact, we're going to do a little bit of work on it on our water and wastewater rates here tonight, where we're going to be dealing with those later on, and how we're managing our water and wastewater. We talked about our curbs, and we talked about our gutters. We talked about the types of streets we want in the future to manage water, and also from a hydro perspective, and I think it was touched on earlier. You know, we had some storms, and I can assure you, I've lived in Nelson for over 40 years. I have not seen this amount of snowfall in 24 hours in that period of time. At my house, we have as much snow today as we had all year last year. In fact, we have less than we had all year last year, right now at our house on Kootenay Lane. We noticed from the storms we've had that put our power out, from the coordination efforts between emergency management, the fire, police, Fortis, Nelson Hydro, and vegetation contractors managed to clear up those storms in a very short period of time. So I'm thankful that we're well ahead of the curve. Now, do we have more work to do? And will we learn a lot from what happened in the last week? Absolutely. And there's no question we'll prepare potentially a little bit better for each one. But we're a long way down the path of mitigating a lot of the challenges that are coming at us. And we'll continue to do that. This budget and these items that we have tonight on our agenda here, environmental services rates, water and wastewater rates, they're all targeted towards doing exactly what we're talking about here tonight. So I just want to say that we're blessed with a senior management team and a group of employees in every single department within this municipality that are dedicated, caring people that have done an exceptionally good job for us all year long, not just in the last week. Thanks very much, everybody. And Len and John and Colin Innes, you're free to go. Thanks for all your good work. Appreciate it.
And the other person
Thank you.
I think we should thank is Ginger Lester. Through all this, night and day, she's getting that word out there to our community, and I thought our communication was excellent. We're letting the folks know. I saw some counselors reposting a lot of that on Facebook, etc. So thank you for also getting that word out. So I thought an excellent job all around. And there's still a lot of work to do, but I think I calculated a million cubic meters of snow might be on our roadways. Like, it's phenomenal amount of snow that's there.
I was actually astounded the other day when I seen the snowblower, how much snow that thing can blow into the back of a truck and how little clearing it actually does when he's done. Like, we have so much snow out there, it's staggering. It's unbelievable. So it's Canada in the winter.
Yeah. I heard.
Thanks, everybody. We got to move on with the agenda here. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. Next up is requests. So we have here a request from Nelson at his best. The November 23rd, 2021 Committee of the Whole meeting, Nelson at his best presented to Council with regards to Together Nelson, a community action strategy seeking to reduce poverty in the city of Nelson and surrounding area. At this time, Nelson at his best indicated that they would follow up the presentation with the request from the city of Nelson, and Nelson at his best requests to Council to endorse Together Nelson and promote the strategy as a community priority, have the city join the community partner network, and sponsor Nelson at his best at the next UBCM.
I would move that, John, or Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So moved by Councillor Renwick. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Lochtenberg, thank you. Here we go. So the recommendation is that Council endorse Together Nelson as presented by Nelson at his best, and further that Council commit the city to participate as members of Together Nelson's Community Action Network, subject to the availability of staff resources, as determined following the presentation of development services on 2022 work plan. All in favour? Carried. Thank you very much. All right, another request, and this is from Bridging Homelessness, and this is from Selkirk College. Selkirk College is submitting a funding proposal to Natural Science and Engineering Research Council of Canada Community and College Social Innovation Fund to support the Bridging Rural Homelessness and Wellbeing Project, and has requested that the City of Nelson partner with the college, provide a letter of support, and if the proposal is successful, also provide $7,500 in cash contribution and $7,500 in kind contribution. Council is now requested to consider this request. So let me see what the okay, was there some talk about us looking at this as a regional, to see if our regional partners would participate in this, Kevin?
We have.
I just want to do this before we go. So
I think Jamie is here from Selkirk. We did ask her, especially on that staffing side of it, if whether they can, support that. I know, as council's heard me many times saying that development service is a new team, has a very high workload already. And I don't know if we have the capacity within that department to support this, but I know we've had some discussions with Jamie around, taking a bit more of a regional approach and having, maybe the RD step up into some of those roles.
So Jamie, what can you give us your thumbnail sketch, please?
Absolutely. Thank you for giving me a couple minutes on this. And so what the approach is with this project is we're really looking at, to make it a strong regional approach, we need to have the stakeholders from across the different communities. And so we've spoken with Trail and Castlegar and got really positive feedback for both of them and approaching you. And for the in-kind time, it's an estimate with $7,500. And what that is that's just 5 days worth of time, and that could be yourselves as elected officials, that could be staff time, and that's to participate in two key events, and that is an annual summit for Regional Homelessness Response Summit, where all the stakeholders come together, including the target population as well, to share success stories, look at opportunities to do some action projects and take advantage of college resources. We have excellent faculty and students available to take on projects, but we can't prioritize them without having you there to help guide what's important to you. And so it's just to have your voice at the table for that $7,500 in-kind time. And like I said, it's an estimate. You're not held by it. That's just a suggestion for the purposes of the letter of support. And the $7,500 cash, that is to allow us to leverage a MyTax partnership, and that's a student intern. So as you might be familiar with, is Selkirk College has been providing student nursing street outreach during course load. So that's like in the spring and fall. In 2020, we were able to get a grant to be able to provide street nursing in Nelson, as well as Castlegar and Trail, in the summer of 2020 to help address the pandemic, and it was very successful. So part of what we're looking at with that $7,500 cash request is to allow us to be able to hire a student intern over the summer. That gives us 420 hours of a student internship to be able to do that street outreach nursing. And here's the benefit, is if Castlegar, Nelson, and Trail all accept our ask for that, that would give us 3 interns. So that'd be 1 intern per summer. So that you pay for 1 intern and you would actually get 3 summers worth of student nurse outreach if all communities come on board. So we're trying to find ways to leverage and take advantage of these opportunities. We also have a plan B. We have a separate MyTax application going in right now, which if we're not successful with this large grant that we're applying for, which is very competitive, but we're very positive, we feel very good about it. We will be able to still do the good work through the other grant and still be able to leverage those funds and get that capacity through college resources to help with those experiencing homelessness in the 3 communities.
Thanks, Jamie.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just was wondering, Jamie, your timeline for your application, one of the things I was wondering is maybe has a really good fit for our CIP grant process, and I don't know if you're aware of that. It's a little bit further down the road here, but I don't know if your timing is such that you need more of that commitment sooner than later as far as putting your application in, but just one question.
The MyTax application that is attached to this large grant that we're doing, they get submitted at the same time. So in order for us to do the 3 communities, kind of how we're envisioning this project working, we would need to have a commitment from that at this point for that one. We're always working with what we've got, and we will adapt and be flexible depending on how things go. That's what we pride ourselves on. So ideally now to kind of be a package to be able to go, but we wouldn't specifically be asking for money, the actual cash, until we know if it's been funded or not.
Okay, thanks, Jamie.
So you need that commitment kind of today then is what you're kind of hoping for.
Yeah, within the month, like within January would work, yeah.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Thank you kindly.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So we have Councillor Renwick and Councillor Lockenberg. I've seen hands up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Amy, question for you. If I like this program in because you framed it regionally, and I think you know that we step up to the plate on these sorts of programs. What if Castlegar and Trail do not? Does this program continue on?
This program will still go. I got unofficial yes from Castlegar, and I'm very hopeful. I had very positive feedback from Trail, so I'm very hopeful with those two. But it's still going to happen. The grants, the proposal's still going in, regardless. We've got lots of support from the social service organizations within the 3 communities, and we're just working through all the details we need to do for the grant for that. But one of the key things that I really want to mention is, Nelson's been really leaders with helping to work and support those experiencing homelessness. And what we're finding is that it's very siloed between the communities, but the population is moving. And so there's a strong desire from all the social service organizations within each of the communities to have an avenue to be able to to collaborate, build capacity, to learn from each other, to make better use of resources. So what my dream and hope and vision for this project, and what I'm hearing from talking to the community partners, is the investment in this project will save resources in the long run through the capacity that's growing at the regional level.
Thank you. So Councillor Lochtenberg, if you want more clarity from Jamie, fine, but maybe we need a motion on the floor to have, okay, so Councillor Lochtenberg, was that your intention?
I was going to ask Jamie a question, but I can move the motion.
Okay, we need a second. Or Councillor Morrison, you had your hand up? Okay, second by Councillor Morrison, thank you. Okay, so go ahead, Councillor Lochtenberg.
Jamie, I apologize if I missed this in the material that was you sent us, but you speak of the 3 local governments in the West Kootenay region. I didn't see a mention of the 4th, which would be the RDCK. Is there a reason for that, or did I just simply miss it?
No, it's the design of this project was we were kind of focusing on the regional centers as the key pieces, because that's where all the services are. So that was kind of our original focus, was the 3 centers. It is regional in scale, but that's kind of where a lot of it's happening. We are working with the regional districts kind of on a side project related to this, where we're having some discussions with them around some of those MyTax internships as a little separate, and we can bring them on board as to participate and be part of this as well. It's just not something that we've specifically started to address yet, but it doesn't mean we're not going to address it. It's definitely on my radar.
Okay, thanks for that. I would really like to see them participating, because as a rural homelessness, we see that the challenge is a regional challenge here. It's certainly not just in the responsibility or the domain of the cities. So it would be great to see them a part of it. Thanks. I'll just leave that for now, and then I may have a comment after on the motion itself.
Yeah, so
thanks.
There's actually 2 regional districts involved in that catchment area. Kootenay boundary.
Yeah.
Okay, further questions or Councillor Page?
Hey, Jamie, looking through your materials that you provided, sorry, there's a little bit of feedback here. One of my questions is you highlight some of the good services that are being provided, by example, the Community Services Hub. And I'm wondering, as the scope of this work goes through, if you'll be identifying some of the fragility of some of those services and their ongoing funding opportunities. And because that is an example provided, that is a one-time funding grant that we don't necessarily have long-term funding available, and it would be a shame to map something like that out and then not really come out with an appreciation that some of those services are fragile in and of their own right. So I'm wondering, will we get a better sense of the landscape of what both the opportunities but also the challenges at sustaining those long-term, and where that funding is going to be coming from?
Absolutely, and that's actually directly related. I mean, a lot of the work that we're doing is building off other work, and I'm presently leading a project right now where we're doing an assessment on the Coordinated Access Hub in order to help them determine exactly those pieces for continued funding. And that's, part of this is the hub's working, what's working, and what can be learned, or how can you share that information with, how can you coordinate access with what's happening in Castlegar or in Trail? Because what we're hearing is those experiencing homelessness are in Trail 1 week, and then they're in Nelson the next, and then they're in Castlegar the next. And there's not clear lines of communication to help support those individuals, or the organization supporting them to be efficient and to be able to talk through these issues. So the regional scale is where we really think we'll be able to build that capacity, learn and support each other to be able to understand those fragilities and how to support that moving forward.
And Chair, a supplemental, if I may. So I did hear you say that, and to Kevin's concern about the capacity of development services staffing, I would definitely put myself down sitting where I sit in the housing committee and my concern over this area for time to be part of those conversations to help meet that in-kind requirement if it's the will of council to proceed forward. So definitely notch me down on that list.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you. Jamie, I had a question. A couple of things jump out at me here. I think it's a good idea what you're proposing here, but we just had, as an example, Nelson at its best talking about poverty reduction. You know, we have the Nelson Committee on the Homelessness, and now we're going to have, you know, hopefully going down the road with you as well, Jamie, on this project. So I just wonder, I know you talked about the silo thing in the communities, but is there a silo thing among these different committees as well? And how do you see that sort of, you know, you're working with them also? And the other one, last but not least, would be, you're talking about that would give you 3 summers of a student if you had 3 pockets of funding. Why is the summer more important than the winter or, say, the spring or the fall? Because homelessness is not a summer issue, it's a year-round.
Okay, so I don't want to forget the first question. So the first question was about the different silos with the groups. Yes, all this different work is happening, and by bringing folks together, and we're proposing quarterly and then to have an annual summit each year to be able to share these lessons learned, this is a way to break down silos, to build these relationships and break down silos. So that's definitely something that's top of mind for me and part of the project design. And then the second question was related to, oh, it's already slipped my mind. Can you just remind me, please?
So if you got 7,500 3 times, you do a 3-year project, and I'm asking, why wouldn't you do a full year project? Because you'd learn maybe more about the condition of homelessness in December that you would or something different than you would in July. Right?
And that's a really simple answer. We already do that work in those other months because it's done during the 3rd year nursing rotation and the practicum students. So we are constantly, and it's expanding. I think the students have been, the nursing students have been doing that work in Nelson for at least 10 years during the spring and fall, and now they've expanded to the different communities, but there's a gap in the summer. And so we were able to pilot in the summer 2020, having students all summer, and that was very successful. You know, they got a pack on their back, and they're, you know, supporting the population with various needs and referrals, and they're also able to help when the members of that population are moving between communities. They got their pulse on it when they're working between the different communities.
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to check, Nicole's still with us, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I see her name up there.
Yep.
Okay, you're still with us there, Nicole?
I am. Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, thank you.
And thanks, Jamie, while I'm talking. Great presentation.
Make sure that we're not just seeing a sign on you. Okay, so the resolution that's on the floor is the council approve Selkirk College's request that the City of Nelson partner alongside the college in the proposed Bridging Rural Homelessness and Wellbeing project. And further that if Selkirk College funding proposal is approved, that the City of Nelson provide a cash contribution of $7,500 and an in-kind support of up to $7,500 to the project, subject to the availability of staff resources from Development Services Department as determined following the presentation of the department's 2022 work plan. And finally, that staff be directed to provide Selkirk College with a letter of support regarding the project's proposal. Okay.
Question, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
You know, we've discussed these programs similar to this at length over the last 3 years, and each time it comes around is we need more regional support. And I think this is the time when I would like to approve this, but I would like to amend the resolution that says we're in if Trail and Castlegar are in. And a strong ask to the RDCK and RDKB.
So that's amendment to the motion that's on the floor?
Well, I'm just throwing it out there for maybe for discussion. I don't know, maybe other people feel differently than me, but.
So what I'm hearing you say is that subject to funding coming from Trail and Castlegar and participation from the Regional District of Central Kootenay. And now remember, there's 2 regional districts involved here. Regional District of Kootenay boundary as well.
He did mention the second one as well. He did mention the RDKB.
Okay, sorry.
I did, although because Jamie has said that they have asked, they've got a strong possibility from Castlegar, hoping on Trail, and that's where the focus I think should be. But let's not forget to ask the 2 RDs involved as well.
So can you read that back? So Sarah's trying
Can somebody
to make some sense of this. Trying to make some sense of what you just said, which shouldn't be hard. And
Basically, it's just.
Thank you.
Can I just clarify with Jamie? I assume if whatever communities participate, they will get those resources in their community. So if Trail chooses not to, then they wouldn't have those resources in their community. Is that correct?
Well, it depends how it's all going to work out. We'd have to work it out. One of the benefits of street nursing is we can make it go, like it's something that can go across the region. Like it's something that goes from Castlegar, Nelson, and Trail. I would have to have that discussion with the nursing facilitator for that project. I'd rather see us all just work together and take a leadership role and do it without the limitations. What I worry about is if 1 says no and 2 says yes, does that mean it doesn't work? Us as a college, we're regional, and I just want to see us all work together and contribute what we can, and we're here to help support all 3 regions and in any way that we can do that.
thank you. So Sarah, can you? Yeah. So Sarah's putting an amendment together. I think the bigger issue here is not the project or the communities, to be honest with you, is our ability to be able to support this through development service, because we've had these conversations in the last month and a half around.
Yeah, I don't see it necessarily being supported by development services. It's really if a counselor can be that person or whatever, then that's realistic for us. I don't see development services being able to do that.
Yeah.
You know, likely they're swamped.
Thank you. Sarah?
Amend the motion.
Amendment would have to be seconded, though.
The motion to read and be subject to the cities of Trail and Castlegar contributing $7,500 in funding each, and that the RDCK, I will flesh that out later, and RDKB participate in the project.
Okay, that's an amendment to the motion, and we would need a seconder to that.
I'll second that for the sake of discussion.
Okay, Councillor Lochtenberg, and now on the amendment. First, we can give the mover, I think you already had your kick of that cat, so the seconder, and then Councillor Woodward, and then Councillor Page. Councillor Lochtenberg, you're on.
Yeah, I just want to say that I really appreciate the sentiment, Councillor Renwick, that I think it is really important that Castlegar and Trail and the RDCK and the RDKB step together and work together on housing and homelessness. 100% agree with that. I would vote against the amendment simply because I don't think it's necessary to tie Jamie's hands this way. I think if we sort of lead with a positive, then the outcome of the project, I think, is going to deliver us a lot more data, a better ways to understand the problem, so that we can address it more effectively regionally. So even if, say, Castlegar Trail don't come in, I don't think that doesn't mean they're not going to be encouraged to participate once this project is underway. So I think really appreciate the sentiment, but I would argue that this is probably not the best way to do it.
Councillor Woodward?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say in a similar vein to Councillor Lautenberg is that, you know, Jamie and Selkirk College is trying to do something, you know, which we desperately need in our area. And to kill a project like that because we don't get total buy-in, very dangerous. I think we need to support these kinds of efforts. We have a huge poverty problem in this area. It's extremely expensive and only getting more expensive as we all know with the housing prices, the BC assessment housing prices that came out. So I'm not in favor of what Councillor Renwick has said. I think we really need to support organizations like this to do this work that, as a city, we don't have the staffing to do it. So Selkirk College is offering to do this work, and I think we should really support that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Page.
I won't belabor it. I disagree with the amendment, and pretty much everything that's been said has been said. And we can, I think, focus on how we can we have the commitment from the minister to have a regional conversation with BC Housing and pick up some of those conversations, and let's keep bringing Trail and Castlegar into other conversations and how we can face forward on projects we can all work on together. And in this case, I think whether there's a nurse in Trail doing services to that population and learning that those people are traveling into Nelson, that information is going to inform us. It's going to help us understand what that movement looks like. And I think that's a big piece of understanding how this population is meeting its needs under some pretty dire situations. So I love the sentiment in it, but let's make sure we're committing to go out there proactively and engage those cities on all of the different aspects of this problem. And in this case, let's let the academics figure out what they need to be doing in this program. So I oppose the amendment, but I appreciate the spirit by which it's given.
Thank you. Okay, on the amendment, all in favor? Opposed? It fails. Well, hold on. We had 3 people, right? Oh, okay, we got Councillor Charwood with her hand up. Thank you, Councillor Charwood. And the amendment fails. So we're back to the main motion. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks very much, Jamie.
Thank you so much for your support.
You take care. Yeah. Bye.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, let me see where I am now. That's Selkirk College. We're on to Development Application Procedures Bylaw. And there's a few changes being offered up here to the Procedures Bylaw. I think there's good work. I don't know who did this, but...
Natalie.
Pardon?
Natalie,
okay. Probably long overdue, some of these suggestions here, actually, once I read through it. Development Services proposing to repeal the Land Development Applications Procedure Bylaw number 3243/2012 and replace it with a new Development Application Procedures Bylaw. The current Applications Procedures Bylaw is outdated and no longer accurately reflects how the city processes applications. And that became pretty clear once you read through this, actually, at least from a few places. So, Council, there is a recommendation here to change the bylaw, and there's a fair bit of information attached to it to help you make that decision for or against. It's entirely up to you. So we have to start off with somebody throwing a motion on the floor, and that's Councillor Morrison for the motion, and that the Development Application Procedures Bylaw number 3526/2022 be read a third time by title only as amended, and we need a seconder. Councillor Woodward, questions or comments? All in favour? That was easy. Thanks very much. Carried. Thank you, Nicole. That little hand of yours is working pretty good there. I'm getting used to it now. Okay. Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw, and this is water and wastewater rates. Each year, the City of Nelson reviews the long-term operating and capital plan for the water and wastewater utilities. The purpose is to ensure that the rates are set at a level to ensure that significant funds are available to cover the annual operating and capital expenses and provide for adequate reserve to fund future capital expenditures. Council is now requested to pass the first of three readings on the Fees and Charges Amendment 2022 Water and Wastewater Rates, Bylaw number 3540-2022. And once again, there's a mountain of information here for Council to help Council make this decision. And of course, we've all had these conversations with our staff over the last number of months. And we have one hand up. Councillor Morrison, you're moving. We doing them separate here? Right, because we have 1 and 2, right, for the first and second, right?
Yeah.
For,
They're two different bylaws.
recommendation passed the following resolution that the Corporation of the City of Nelson Fees and Charges Amendment 2022 Water and Wastewater Rates, Bylaw number 3540-2022 be introduced and read a first time and read a second time by title only. And that's moved by Councillor Morrison and seconded by Councillor Renwick. Any questions or comments from Council? Hearing none, all in favour? Thank you very much. And number 2, that the Corporation of the City of Nelson Fees and Charges Amendment 2022 Water and Wastewater Rates, Bylaw number 3540-2022 be read a third time by title only. Moved by Councillor Morrison again. Sorry, was that your hand up or you were just scratching your head? You better not go to an auction. Councillor Morrison and Councillor Lochtenberg. Questions or comments?
Mayor?
Yes, Colin.
Sorry, just before we kind of go through this, I just had a couple of updates that I wanted to mention to council.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So one, if you'll notice in the RFD that, and again, it's been a bit a while, but it was at the October 29th meeting, and we had the Director Innes work on or present to council on our storm system. I just wanted council to be aware that a new grant has come out from the province. And so we have been working with one of our vendors to help us because we see that stormwater management is one of the major categories that we could put an application into. So we have been engaged with that, and I believe it is the 21st of January here. So I know that the director has been working with that and putting together a package in our application. So there's a real hope, significant dollars available, and our plan will be robust and likely kind of a 3-year is what we're hoping. Now, again, I say that to you now because we will be going into budget in the next couple of weeks, and as always, this one does not 100%, so that we would need to be looking at, if we're going to support this, that there would be a component of the storm system that is not part of water and sewer. We talked about trying to work into the future on, do we set up its own fund, or do we make aggregate all of our funds, wastewater, water, and storm together, so that we've got kind of one fund that's handling that. So that's kind of a future thing that we were tasked with by council to come back with some answers. But I did want to tell you that we look like there's a potential for a great grant opportunity that would really help us move some of this project forward. So we're really hoping that we're successful with that, but it looks like it would be like a 3-year project. So anyway, just wanted to give council an update on some of that, because there was some questions about how and what would we do, and we happen to see a grant coming forward on that. The other thing too is Mr. Gallagher continues to work on his projects, and just as a reiteration there, and the good work and presentation he provided, that we've seen some positive effects in some of our local breweries in some of the equipment that they're putting into their own, I guess I want to say their system, so that it is taking out some of the high strength product that's actually going into our sewer. So again, just some really good news I wanted to pass on, that we're seeing some real proactive work by those that we would say would likely be putting in some high effluent into our system. And that was all. And again, too, I don't know if anybody has any other questions, but just a couple of updates just on that, since we hadn't met until early December.
Nice. Thanks, Colin. That's good news. Excellent. Hopefully you get the grant, and this funding here will help support that. So,
and I think it's from the government of Egypt, wasn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So we're done with that. Was number 2, right? Just so you're clear. Next up is environmental services rates. Part of the budget process, council reviews the rates and charges to collect and dispose of waste and recyclable materials each year. This is to ensure that rates are set at a level that ensures adequate funds are available to cover the annual operating and expenses, as well as contribute to equipment reserve to fund future capital needs of this service. Council is now requested to pass the first of 3 readings of the Fees and Service Amendment Waste Management Bylaw number 3541-2022. All right, and we have 1 and 2 again, folks. Councillor Page moves 1, a second by Councillor Renwick, and that is that the Corporation of the City of Nelson Fees and Charges Amendment Waste Management Bylaw number 3541-2022 be introduced and read a first time and read a second time by title only. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Oh, Councillor Charwood, yeah, I see your hand up there. Good, thank you. And next is that the Corporation of the City of Nelson Fees and Charges Amendment Waste Management Bylaw number 3541-2022 be read a third time by title only. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Morrison and Councillor Renwick.
And Mayor, if I
Yeah.
Sorry, just a couple of updates on this one as well, if I could, or just a couple of things I wanted to talk about. One is that if you're almost running out of your garbage tags, they're kind of ongoing since I've been here, orange straight tag, those are going to be no longer available because we've gone to a new tag. And again, to try to keep with the times, it has a QR code for it. So if you've got your phone, much as it might seem odd, but you can actually use your phone to look on the tag, and it's going to give you information about, garbage and our recycling pickup. So I just thought one of those changes gives us some information. It's one of those, I think, type of opportunities where we can, if you've got your tags, which most people do, that if there's a place there for us to provide information and updates and whatnot to our community. So that's one thing that I thought you may find it quite strange. They're a little bit bigger. They're a big square. They really stick, so you don't have to worry about your neighbor coming over and pulling off your orange one and putting on theirs, which apparently happens. So now they'd have to take the whole baggage of garbage with them because this ones are really going to stick to the bags and they're going to be a lot more visible. And the only other comment too, I just Chris Jury helped out or did this RFD, and one of the things that he had done is a little bit of research there that I thought was quite interesting is that City of Nelson, we're quite proud that we're quite an efficient. I know that right now it's maybe tough for people, but on the overall processing of recycling and your waste, we are very, very efficient, and that the fact that where our increase has gone from about $35, which is around the 35 to 40 is what we kind of need for doing your recycling and your waste pickup. The other funds, has 2 years ago we had the fee increase by $35 to help pay for the bins and get them delivered to you for recycling, which again has seen a 40% increase in recycling being picked up by our community, which is a real positive. But again, this difference in fee between what we're needing towards now using those funds for our food cycler project, you're still only looking at about $40 is really the component. So $40 and then whatever amount of garbage bags that you use is what your kind of annual cost for garbage pickup is. And on the waste fee for a place like Castlegar, they don't have any organics component at all, and that they're a full $158. So even if you were saying I use, $40 and then how many bags I use, we're really, I think, in a very positive place for our community on how efficient and effectively we do get your waste and recycling picked up.
So that's plus the price of the tag, right?
I don't know. I don't think that they have per se a tag fee, but at the $158, all I'm saying to you is that we're charging about $40 for your recycling and your
pickup. No, I'm asking you, in our case, just for clarity for the public.
Yes.
That $40 is plus the price of the tag. Or is it
$40 plus your price of your tag. That's correct. That's correct. But again, even if you use, say, at 52 weeks, they're not $2. But I'm just saying to 26 pickups. If you've got a bag or so, depending on how much waste that you have, you're definitely in the line there where you're going to be less than the 158 that Castlegar does.
So, Colin, as a guy that stocks up on those little red tags, can I still use them?
Yes, that's a great question. Yes, oh yes, you can still use your tags that you've stocked up on, Mayor. But just again, don't be shocked when you go to get your new sheet and you're kind of thinking, what happened here? We kind of used the technology and a better adhesive and the ability to communicate with our community.
Thanks very much, Colin.
And that was in partnership with our climate team that, looked at that as an opportunity to communicate some of our programs, whether it's the EcoSave program or e-bike lending program. So it'll take you to the information, and we're hoping people, when they have those on their fridge, will go, oh, geez, I'm going to check out the energy retrofit program. So that's what you'll see on those tags.
Thank you.
And it's a great point, CAO Cormac, because that's something that we'll be able to track also how many people have used the QR card. So it's one of those trackable items that we can find out, are we effective with what we're doing?
So Colin, can I ask you one more question, please, without dragging this out all night? I don't know a lot about QR codes, but I've learned a bit about them from some of the restaurants the last while. So on that QR code, is that changeable? Like some magical thing out of the sky changes that every time we want to put a new message, or is that the same message on those codes?
No, it's taking you to the web page, which we can change.
Oh, okay, so it'll take us to the web page. Yeah, I see. Okay, that's how a QR code works. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So
and your flip phone's not going to be able to do it, John.
Okay, I can't use the telephone. So just to be clear, for anyone that happens to be tuning in, if you scan your QR code, then it'll take you to a website that'll give you the most up-to-date information you need on recycling, right? And garbage collection.
Or
Or
our
anything
loan
else.
program, or some of these other things.
Okay, thanks very much. That's a great idea. All right. All in favor?
You have Janice there.
Oh, Janice, sorry. I didn't see you. Yeah.
It's okay, sorry, it's just that I was trying to figure out when there might be an opportunity just to chime in on something. So we're on environmental services or resource recovery, or I just like to call it garbage. Just a reminder, because I think it got lost in our discussion on snow and such, and talking about the fact that we haven't had garbage pickup curbside for a while, and that the shift is going to be to laneways for plowing to hopefully access garbage pickup next week, which is great. But I also want to remind people that if you are on one of those tight laneways, or you do have garbage that you want to dispose of, that we are extending the use of the garbage container at 70 or 90 Lakeside through actually the week of garbage collection as well. So if for some reason we get an unusual amount more of snow, or your lane doesn't get fully plowed, that there will still be an option for you to take your garbage down to the bin there that's set up by Public Works. So just to keep that in mind, that that's going to be extended right through till the end of day on Saturday, I believe January the 22nd. So all is not lost in terms of trying to deal with any waste that you have accumulated.
It's a great point, and for some people it was an interesting, Council Morris, just to jump on that, as we were engaging with some of the people that were dropping off their garbage bags there, they were unaware that only 300 feet away was 70 Lakeside Drive, where, you could also be dropping off some of your recyclings. Again, just to be clear too, as you said, Council Morris, our goal is to come and pick up your recycling and garbage next week, and I'm confident that we were going to be able to do that, but that's a great point that you pointed out there, that if you're in the laneway and maybe you can't get it, we can't get through your laneway and you can't get it out front or at the end of your laneway, that if you need to have someone drop it off for you, that is an option for your garbage.
Colin, on that note then, just another for clarity for the community, your garbage pickup, next cycle that you're picking up, is for the cycle that was planned, not the ones that were skipped, right? Do you get what I mean? So in my case, they missed us, right? So that doesn't mean you're coming to my house this time. Like you missed
on the regular day.
Yeah, on the regular day. Yeah.
Yeah. So
like you're not going to go around and do every. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the regular schedule comes back in play.
The regular schedule. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Hoping for a complete pickup of recycling and garbage for everyone, starting the week of the 17th.
On your regular day.
On your regular day.
Yeah.
Right. So then, Colin, just on that, I just noticed you saying there, so Councillor Morrison mentioned, could you actually if you wished, put your garbage at the front of your house. If you didn't think it was going to be picked up at the back, would it get picked up at the front?
We'll
Yes, well,
communicate
that
that.
is, yes, we will communicate that. I just think that people get used to where I pick it up. But if you were looking down your laneway going, they didn't get here, or it is so soupy, I think it's better, because what we find is that we've got 7 houses that have it at the front of their street, and 6 houses that put it in the back lane.
Yeah.
And that's something that we need to look at again for how we provide the service. But because of the roads having that priority of at least having the plow truck go down it, we're confident that our trucks going to be able to go out into those areas as long as we don't get a major snow dump here again. But with most of the roads, being in a place where we can get our trucks down. Now, of course, talk to your neighbors if they've left their vehicle out there. I think that a lot of the community has gotten out now and at least moved their vehicles or shoveled out. But recognize that the plan is that we may be coming down the front of the street, so we may, depending on where we're at for lane access, be asking individuals to either take it to the end of the lane, because we hope to clean out the mouths of the laneways, but also be like some of your other neighbors and just put it out front with where they put their garbage out in the front of the street.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much, Colin. All right, all in favor? Carrie, that's number 1, right?
Yeah, no, that's number 2.
Number 2, sorry.
Yeah, so we're good with that.
We're done with that, okay. Thanks. All right, onward and upward. Correspondence and minutes, and now we're reports. And if there's anything anybody wants to pull out of any of these reports and minutes, so now is your time to speak up or forever hold your peace. Accounts payable, the Rusty Moose has still not surfaced. So we're on reports.
I'll move those reports, Mayor.
Pardon?
I'll move those reports.
Move receipt. Thank you very much. And that's Financial Department and Development Services. Need a seconder, please?
And I just want to,
Morrison?
I just want to mention the volume of building permits this year is a record number at 34.3 million of improvements or new housing in our community. The numbers for new units, single dwelling units, again, a huge number both this year and last year, as well as multifamily units. So there's a lot of building going on here. Council has a very progressive zoning and building scheme here. And we're starting to, you look at things like laneway houses, we're really starting to see those things happen. So, kudos to our Development Services Department and Building Department. This is all done in the middle of a pandemic, and so really great work by all of them. So thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, absolutely. Agree 100%. Okay, we have minutes from various groups, Culture Development Committee and the City Nelson Housing Committee. I've read through them. Anybody else want to pull anything out of here that's of significance? Everything's of significance, but anything in particular you wanted to talk about? If not, move receipt of the minutes from those committees, please. Moved by Councillor Lachtenberg, seconded by somebody. Councillor Woodward, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. And then we have letters from CBT, Outdoor Revitalization Grant, Community Outdoor Revitalization Grant, and I see Kevin's signature on here. Kevin?
Yeah. And that one we were successful on that CBT Outdoor Revitalization Grant. So that, as Council recalls, some additional improvements to Cottonwood Falls Park, including shade structures, I think sound and lighting improvements to the stage. So thank again to Joy Barrett and her team of Joy Barrett. Yeah. And Sydney's always a really good support for that as well. So so that was quite exciting. That combined with the the provincial grant that we have for the tourism upgrades and the work that Matt Stanley did with on looking at how that park will develop over time. I think that it's such a you know, and the work the Azuchi Friendship Society, it's such a, you know, I think those of us that have been on this table for a while know what that park was and its various iterations, but it's now starting to be a park we can all be super proud of.
And I'd give a special shout out to Councillor Woodward, who sort of kept this on the table with the farmers market and the farmers market committee, and Jordan, the good work that she's done through the youth centre. I think that's on a very solid foundation now. And Councillor Woodward, thanks very much for keeping that engine turning over there. Thank you. All right, late items, there are none. Release to the public, we got a couple, right?
We do, but we'll, with the ones from camera, they need to be notified first from
What?
today.
Sorry?
Those.
We can identify the
Appointments?
items.
We'll notify them? Okay.
We need to notify them and then it will be on
Okay.
in the minutes.
Okay, thank you. They'll be identified in the minutes. Okay. So that's about it. Then a motion to adjourn. Nobody wants to go home? Oh, Councillor Lochinvar, you are at home. Pardon?
Cal, do you want to talk or you want to adjourn?
No, I want to talk.
That's what I thought. Cal wants to
Thank you.
talk.
Can I talk, Mr. Mayor?
I can't see you anymore for some reason. What the
Where'd you
heck?
go?
Are you on the ferry?
I'm still here out in the out in the RD. I just wanted to bring this up. I think we all received the email a few days ago from Bill McDonnell. You know, harkening back to 15 years ago this week, we were getting prepared for Hockey Day in Canada, and what a great event that was, and what a great job Nelson and area did there, and how we're looking forward to maybe some more of those types of events, hopefully sooner than later. And that, you know, a year and a half later, I think, I know, John, you were in the chair, and we hosted the Under 18 World Junior Championships here in co-hosted with Trail, and it was very successful. So, you know, there's some of these things that we had some big successes, and we tend to sometimes forget about these, and it's just a little reminder to raise awareness, and people can think back or flip through their Hockey Day in Canada book or whatever that they've got, the memories that they've got, because it was a pretty special time. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Cal, for mentioning that. Bill wrote that. I just wanted to, I actually pulled up the picture today from that group picture, and, you know, when you look at the group of people there, I posted on my Facebook page, I'm thinking we should bring back Don Cherry. He's right in the middle of it there. But all of those people in that picture, every single one of them have been people that have been volunteers and contributors in our community for a long, long, long time. It's amazing the amount of volunteers, and that's an example of, you know, volunteerism, and it brings us back to the whole snow removal thing and the way people have been helping out and helping their friends and neighbours, you know, work through this storm. And the other storm we're not out of yet either is this COVID storm. And I just want us all to remember that it's important for us to continue to be safe, wash your hands, wear your mask, and be kind to each other, and get vaccinated. It's the quickest way out of this mess, and let's get on side as much as possible. Thanks, everybody. And we're done. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Renwick, Councillor Page, all in favour? Thank you all very much. Thanks, Colin. So we can let you out of quarantine. Let you out of quarantine there for